Okay, good morning, class 11. And to continue with the class on thermodynamics, okay, last what we had done was extensive and intensive property. I had sent you the notes till extensive and intensive property of a system. What are extensive properties of a system? Those properties of the system which depend upon the amount of substance, okay, which depend upon the amount of substance, that is number of moles. An example was mass, volume, pressure, internal energy, etc. What are intensive property of a system which do not depend upon the amount of substance? For example, temperature. Temperature depends upon kinetic energy of molecules, okay, that is average kinetic energy of molecules. Then we have specific heat, we have refractive index, okay, and so on. Yes. Okay, so the next topic is extensive properties of a system, which I have just explained. Okay, that is extensive property. Yes, the yes flask में तो inside part is thermocol. That is, it is a U tube with a pointed end at the bottom where it is sealed. It is a double walled vessel in which the vacuum is created, and then the it is sealed at the bottom, right? And you have to protect that seal. So it is a circular insulating material is kept at the bottom, and then it is packed in thermocol. It is packed in thermocol, and then the outer covering, all right, can be decorative also. That is made of a substance which will reflect heat from inside. Okay, it is colored from inside. So that is construction of a thermostat. Suppose it is made out of steel. Suppose it's a kettle made out of steel, what we are having nowadays. Okay, so then steel is a good conductor of heat, isn't it? So you touch it, you will feel hot, but the inside part is all insulated. So the heat is reflected back within the flask. But the outside part, they can be of any substance, whatever you want, right? Okay. All right. So we were discussing about extensive and intensive property. And extensive properties, I just told you, they are those which depend upon number of moles, that is mass of a substance. Then intensive properties are those which do not depend on mass of substance. For example, mass of substance means amount of substance. There is a difference between amount of substance means number of moles. Yes, pressure. No, pressure is going to depend upon the number of moles because it is force exerted per unit area. The force will be exerted by the molecules. Molecules means number of moles, right? It is viscosity. What is viscosity? We had discussed, okay, in the previous chapter. It is the property which restricts the flow of fluids. So it does not depend upon number of moles. Like if you even if you take a small amount of honey or you take large amount of honey, the property is going to be the same. That is, it is a viscous liquid. Yes, it is a viscous liquid. Whether you take small amount of gum or large amount of gum, the property of viscosity will not depend upon the amount of substance. Okay, and similarly we have got surface tension also. Surface tension is due to the inward pull of the molecules which are present on the surface. So because of that, it will not depend upon how many moles you have taken. Surface tension means water has a tendency for forming spherical globule, okay, for forming a spherical droplet. This is because of surface tension. So it will depend upon the surface area, how many molecules are present on the surface. It will not depend upon how many total number of moles of the substance you have taken. Are you getting my point? So this is your intensive property. Density is mass upon volume. Okay, now the volume of a liquid and a gas is the volume of the container. It can be small also, it can be large also. It has got no connection with number of moles of the substance. One mole can be spread into a large room also. One mole of a substance can be kept in a small bottle also. So volume is not dependent upon number of moles. Similarly, mass is also not dependent upon number of moles. Is that clear? Mass we are talking about is molecular mass. Then now next we go on to another new term which you will be learning today, and that is your heat capacity. Okay, till here you had done, right? Intensive, extensive and intensive we have done today. Now let us go on to heat capacity. That was here, right? And after that I connected you here just now. Now it is heat capacity. What is meant by heat capacity? And it is represented by C. Okay. Cap. Yes. So it is heat capacity of a sample of substance is the quantity of heat needed to raise the temperature of the sample of substance by 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin. Okay. So it is important thing is raising the temperature by 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin. Is that clear? Now it is going to be intensive or extensive property. It is an intensive property. Okay, specific heat or heat capacity is going to be extensive. Heat capacity is extensive because it is just written sample of substance. It is not written 1 mole of substance. If you make it 1 mole of a substance, it becomes specific heat capacity. Okay, so heat capacity is represented by C. It is an extensive property. It is not going to be dependent on number of moles. Here it is only specified 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin. Now if I also specify the amount of substance, that is 1 mole, then it becomes specific heat capacity, which is given below here. Specific heat capacity is represented by small c. It is the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 unit mass. Now 1 unit mass can be 1 mole, 1 gram, 1 kg. Okay. Here you have to specify the mass. So this, when mass is specified, that means number of moles is specified, then it is going to be specific heat capacity and it will be an intensive property because it will depend. Correct. It is by 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin. Have you got this? This will be specific heat capacity. Now heat capacity, yes. Hmm. Okay, isobaric. After isobaric, it is isochoric. So isobaric means it is isobar means same pressure, uniform pressure, and isochoric means it is constant volume. Okay, isochoric process will be your process which is carried out at constant volume. That means delta V will be zero. There will be no change in volume. So such a process will be known as isochoric process. Okay, all right. Now next we have here is heat capacity. Now heat capacity I have told you, and when it will be called specific heat capacity, that I have told you. When will it be called as molar heat capacity? When the amount of substance will be only 1 mole. When it is in general written 1 unit mass can be 1 gram, 1 kg, then it is specific heat capacity. If only 1 mole it is written, then it is molar heat capacity. Okay, it is the heat capacity to raise the temperature of 1 mole of substance by 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin. So all these terms are related to each other. It is just that you are increasing the specification. Like first the temperature is 1 degree or 1 Kelvin, it is heat capacity. Huh. No, your heat capacity will be extensive because here it has got nothing. Not fixed. Amount of substance is not. It is just written sample of substance, can be any amount of substance. Okay. Now heat capacity is again divided into heat capacity at constant volume. We write it as C and V. Is it visible to you? Capital C and V, small v. So this is heat capacity at constant volume. It is the heat capacity when the temperature of a substance is raised by 1 degree centigrade, keeping the volume constant. Similarly, if it will be constant pressure, then it is going to be, it is the heat capacity when the temperature of substance is raised by 1 degree centigrade while keeping the pressure constant. Okay, for solids and liquids, there is not much difference between the values of Cv and Cp. However, yes, for gases, there is quite a lot of difference, because then we say Q is what? Amount of heat given to a substance, or here it will be amount of heat given to a gas. That is equal to Cv, means specific heat at constant volume. And what is delta T? Change in temperature. Now, if you are taking Cv, right? C is specific heat. So delta T will be 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin. Isn't it? This is heat capacity. Heat capacity at constant volume. Correct? Delta T will always be Tf minus Ti. What is Tf? Final temperature minus initial temperature. This will give us heat capacity is directly proportional to the amount of a substance. It is not specified how much amount of substance. It is directly proportional to amount of substance. It is understood. If I take large amount of, if I take 1 gram of a substance, the amount of heat absorbed will be less. If I take 10 grams of a substance, the amount of heat absorbed will be more. Isn't it? But if I specify, as I told you, if it is 1 gram, it will be called specific heat capacity. If it is 1 mole, it will be known as molar heat. Okay? All right. It is written unit. It is written unit mass. So it can be 1 gram or 1 kg also. Unit mass means, see, 1 mole, so it will be, if it is written unit mass. Mole is not mass. Mass आप समझ रहे, weight. It can be 1 gram or 1 kg. If it is 1 mole, then we will call it molar heat capacity. What is 1 mole? Equal to mass upon molecular mass also, na? यहाँ पर we are not taking molecular mass into account. So 1 gram of nitrogen ले लो, या 1 gram of hydrogen ले लो, या 1 gram of copper ले लो, will all of them contain same number of molecules? No. यहाँ पे mass is same, but number of molecules is not same. Whereas in molar heat capacity, if you are taking 1 mole of any substance, it will contain Avogadro's number of molecules. Correct? So this will be your intensive property, because this will be specified. You are specifying the amount of substance. Is that clear? Specific heat capacity is going to be, it is going to be also intensive property, because यहाँ पर mass तो आप fix कर रहे हो ना. You are specifying the mass. हाँ, so I am telling you here one thing. देखो, 1 gram of copper लोगे, 1 gram of iron लोगे, 1 gram of other substance लोगे, उसमें मोल्स अलग हो जाएंगे ना, तो मोलर हीट कैपेसिटी सबकी डिफरेंट हो जाएगी, बट स्पेसिफिक हीट कैपेसिटी सेम रहेगी. मोलर हीट कैपेसिटी डिफरेंट हो जाएगी ना, बिकॉज नंबर ऑफ मोल्स डिफरेंट हो जाएंगे, बिकॉज देयर मॉलिक्यूलर मास इज डिफरेंट. मास अपॉन मॉलिक्यूलर मास है, तो मास इज सेम बट molar heat capacity intensive, specific heat capacity is also intensive, whereas heat capacity is extensive. Beta, when we take 1 gram of, acha, 1 minute, I'll explain you with an example. You take 1 gram, you take 1 kg of apple, you take 1 kg of guava. ठीक है? दोनों का दोनों का mass is same, weight is same, mass is different. weight आप समझते हैं? आप जब वेट, करेक्ट, तो दोनों का वेट तो सेम है ना, बट द अमाउंट ऑफ सब्सटेंस इज डिफरेंट और नॉट. एप्पल शायद 2 चढ़ेंगे, हाँ, और अगर हाँ, तो बट वी विल नॉट यूज द वर्ड हियर, यहाँ पे अमाउंट ऑफ इट विल बी क्वांटिटी ऑफ मैटर इज डिफरेंट। यहाँ पे यू विल नॉट यूज द वर्ड मोल, यू विल से क्वांटिटी ऑफ मैटर इज डिफरेंट। ठीक है, बिकॉज यहाँ पे नंबर ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल्स विल बी डिफरेंट। All right. For example, they have given, see here how to find out. Q is the amount of heat given, C is specific heat capacity, M is mass, and delta T is change in temperature. So suppose I take water in a beaker and I heat it. Okay, it will be better that I take it in a conducting material made out of copper vessel containing water, and I heat it on a burner. So the amount of heat which I will supply will depend upon these three factors. What is this? Specific heat capacity. किसका specific heat capacity? Water का, because we are heating water. Mass of water and change in temperature, which you can find out with the thermometer. Initial temperature and then final temperature. Okay. नहीं नहीं, mass दिया होगा. If you have to calculate Q, then mass will be given to you. Specific heat capacity of water. Mass है. It's not molar mass. Molar mass is always written with capital M. Okay. Small m always stands for mass. Specific heat of water is 4.18 joules, because this is the unit of Q, isn't it? And this is the, and per gram, joules per gram. This is the unit of specific heat capacity. Okay. Kelvin is the unit of this, delta T. So either you write joules per gram Kelvin. किसका? हाँ, इन्होंने C निकाला है. अगर C निकालेंगे तो इट विल बी Q अपॉन M इंटू डेल्टा. M will come down, delta T will come down. Yes. तभी ये इन्होंने ग्राम और केल्विन लिखा है. Isn't it? It will be here like this. It is going to be Q is equal to M into C into delta T. Right? So what will this C be equal to? Suppose I have to calculate specific. Q upon M into delta T. Q unit is joules, amount of heat energy. Mass is what? Gram or kg. Okay. Into, this is going to be Kelvin. Is that clear? So this will be joules. This will be joules per kg Kelvin. Right? This is what they have calculated. But for water, it is very specific. Why? If we have to calculate C, and you have to calculate amount of heat energy, suppose I take it as 1. Okay, so 1 joule for 1 kg for 1 Kelvin rise in temperature. Is that clear? So I can find out the value of C. If it will be, Q is going to be 1 joule, M is going to be 1 gram or 1 kg. If here it is in gram, it is written as gram and Kelvin, right? And this delta T. Or it can be taken as 1 calorie, 4.18 joules, or you can write it as 1 calorie per gram Kelvin. Mass is in 1 gram. Yes, yes. 1 calorie is equal to 4.18 joules. 1 calorie is equal to 4.18 joules. Okay. Yes, now suppose a piece of metal requires 5 joules of heat to raise the temperature by 10 degrees Celsius at constant volume from 20 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees. Here I would like to explain you one thing. Wherever you have to find out delta C and delta T, that is change in temperature has to be found out. Okay, delta T, small t, that is in centigrade, या delta T capital, that is in Kelvin. If you have to find out the difference, there is no need of conversion of centigrade to Kelvin. यहाँ पे we require the temperature in Kelvin, but we will not add 273 here and 273 here because it will come to the same thing, isn't it? So whenever delta T is required, there is no need to convert centigrade into Kelvin. Simply subtract the two. Yes, नहीं आ नहीं सकते. It is like I have got here 5, right? And I have got 7. What is the difference? 2. 2. And if I add here 2 and I add here 2, what is this? 7 and 9, still the difference will be same. Whenever there is difference, you don't need to add. Alright, you don't need it. If you are adding the same thing here and same thing here and finding out the difference, so this and this will get cancelled. Okay, so you don't need to convert. Alright, so here they have calculated for this. So your Q will be equal to CV is what? Specific heat at constant volume, and into delta T, right? And here they have given J here, that is in joules. So specific heat is given to you, that is 5, and your change in temperature is given to you. So Q comes out to be 50 grams. But here okay, now here it is given, it has been found that 60.8 joules are required to change the temperature of 25 grams of ethylene glycol used as antifreeze and coolant in automobile engines by 1 Kelvin. Specific heat capacity of ethylene glycol you have to find out. You have to find out specific heat capacity of ethylene glycol, and here change in temperature is given to you, yeah, mass is given to you, Q value is given to you. 60.8 joules is Q. Okay, then change of the temperature is 25 degree, 25.0. This is mass given to you, and this is delta T given to you. So we had derived the formula C is equal to Q upon M into delta T. Okay, from there you can calculate. Yes, here, okay, here, what is this given to you? Q. Q is given to you how much? Okay, okay, right. Q is equal to 60.8 joules. What is the mass given to you? 25 grams. Okay, and then what is this given to you? Delta T. Delta T is equal to 1 Kelvin. So we had derived the formula. You have to find out C, right? That is specific heat capacity of ethylene glycol. This is equal to Q upon M into delta T. This we had calculated, derived from Q is equal to M into C into delta T. You have to calculate C, right? So C will be equal to Q upon M into delta T. Now from here we can calculate Q is given to you, M is given to you, delta T is given to you. It is coming to how much? 2.43. What will be the unit? What is the unit of Q? Joules. Joules per kg. It is given 25 grams. Gram Kelvin. Instead of putting per, I am not writing, either you write joules per gram Kelvin or you can also write it as 2.43. Yes, this will be minus 1 K minus 1. Okay, so this is how you can make use of this formula. Alright, there's another formula which you have to learn. That is, what is the relationship between molar heat capacity, specific heat capacity? Alright, so here molar specific heat capacity of ethylene glycol is equal to specific heat into molar mass. Okay, molar specific heat capacity you have to find out. What was this? This was specific heat capacity. Now, what is the relationship between molar specific heat capacity and specific heat capacity? It is molar specific heat capacity is equal to specific heat capacity into molar mass. How can you find out molar mass? If you know the formula, if you know the formula, So they have not given the formula in the question at all. Okay, they have not given the formula in the question. They will have to give, otherwise, how will you calculate? Because not everybody knows the formula of ethylene glycol. Okay, otherwise, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you what is ethylene. It is CH2OH, CH2OH. It is a diol. Two OH groups are present. Ethylene is CH2, double bond CH2. You break this double bond. What will it become? CH2OH and CH2OH. ठीक है? So what does the formula become? C2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 6, O2. ठीक है? You can find out the molecular mass. This is how much? This is how much? We write carbon 6 and okay, 24 plus 6 plus oxygen is 8 and 16. 16 into 2, 32. That is coming to how much? 6 and 4, 10, 52, 62. Okay, 62. So they have written it 62 here, correct? Okay, so this was your specific heat capacity, and now it is multiplied by molar mass, so it will become molar specific. What are you actually doing? You are multiplying by number of moles, simply as that. Mass you have already taken into this formula. Specific heat capacity में mass लिया था ना? Simply you have multiplied it by molar mass. हाँ, ग्राम ग्राम कट जाएंगे. ठीक है? So this is it. This is upon gram, gram upon gram. So ये gram and gram कट गया. Joules per Kelvin per mole. Okay? All right. Now next relationship is between Cp and Cv. What was Cp? Heat at constant pressure. And Cv was specific heat capacity at constant volume. ठीक है? All right. So what is delta H is equal to delta U plus delta P into V. Where did you read this? Okay, in the yes, enthalpy change, we had done this. It depends upon delta U and the work done on the system. Now, if the system is a gas, okay, then work done is equal to change in pressure and volume. So, this is delta A, change in enthalpy is equal to change in internal energy plus change in pressure and change in volume. हाँ, करेक्ट. एक बार प्रेशर चेंज लेते हैं, एक बार वॉल्यूम चेंज लेते हैं. देन दिस पीवी, दिस इज ओनली फॉर गैसियस system, only for gases. Then for 1 mole. Now see here, your PV is equal to nRT होता है ना? So PV is equal to nRT. Where is n? Here we are assuming n to be equal to 1. Yes, n is equal to 1. 1 mole, right? If it is not 1 mole, then we will have to multiply it by n. Now here delta H is equal to delta U plus R. R will not change. R will remain constant into change in temperature. We can write it like this. Now what other formula do we have for delta H is equal to Cp into delta T. What is Cp? Specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Okay, into delta T. What is delta U equal to? Specific heat capacity at constant volume into delta T. हाँ, हाँ, ये formulas है ना बेटा. Delta H is equal to Cp into delta T. Delta U is equal to Cv into delta T. These are also formulas. We have just put the values over there. Plus R into delta T. Right? Now what they have done? If the change is, yes, since you are taking specific heat ले रहे हैं, तो delta T will be equal to 1. 1 Kelvin ही तो होगा. Right? Delta T will be equal to 1. Because you are taking specific heat capacities. So all this delta T will get cancelled, and what are we left with? Cp is equal to Cv plus R. or bring CV this side, it will be Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Yes, correct. Very good. Cp is always greater than Cv. Otherwise, the value will become negative, and R cannot have negative value. Okay? And difference is always equal to R, and R is always constant. It is a universal gas constant. Okay? Since these are energies, so R का value कितना आना चाहिए? 8.314 आना चाहिए. Nearly, approximately. Okay? Joules होगा ना? Specific heat will always be in joules. Energy लेंगे ना. Point zero, हाँ, so that is used for gases when we consider pressure. 0.0821. This is for energy. The value of R will be 8.314 joules per Kelvin per mole. This is from the correct. Alright, now have you understood? This is a derivation. So in this we have got so many relationships. Delta H is equal to Cp into delta T. What is delta U equal to? Cv into delta T. Right? But we are taking specific heats, so we are getting this. PV is equal to nRT, so here number of mole has to be 1. So actually what you are taking, you are not taking Cp and Cv if it is becoming 1 mole. Alright, so can we call these as molar heat capacities also? Got it? So if somewhere to confuse you in the question it is given molar heat capacity, it is understood because you have derived the relationship with n is equal to 1 mole. Alright. Now next is measurement of delta U. I told you internal energy cannot be calculated at all. Because yes, you have got delta U can be calculated. Final minus initial can be calculated, but you cannot calculate internal energy of any system at any time because it's a combination of so many different types of energies possessed by the molecules. Now from this formula, okay, at constant volume, delta U is equal to QV. We don't write Q. If we are taking delta U equal to QV means heat supplied to the system at constant volume will be equal to change in internal energy. Okay. At constant volume, if we are keeping volume constant, see, in case of gases, both pressure and volume cannot be kept constant, otherwise the container will burst. Okay, either you keep volume constant. If there is, see, this is my system. Uh, yes, yes. See here, if we have molecules and you want to keep the volume constant, and if I start heating this gas, kinetic energy of molecules will increase. They will start colliding against the wall of the container. Pressure will increase. Pressure will increase because I am keeping the volume constant. But if I do not keep the volume constant, what will happen? The yes, this will move up. This will move up. The pressure will remain constant, but the volume will increase. So both pressure and volume cannot be increased at the same time. If we will keep volume, if we will keep volume constant, pressure will increase, pressure constant, volume will increase. So here you are keeping volume constant. Then what will increase? Pressure will increase. So change in internal energy can be found out by measuring change in pressure. Measured heat absorbed or evolved gives change in internal energy at constant pressure. If I keep pressure constant, there will be change in enthalpy of the system. That is, total energy of the system is going to change because I am keeping the pressure constant. Okay, volume will increase. Here volume will increase. Here pressure will increase. Yes, see, it is in the definition. What is internal energy? First of all, you should know the difference between enthalpy and internal energy. Internal energy is only the energy possessed by the molecules. It is only the energy possessed by the molecules. Okay. Hello, yes. Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. All right. So we are here. What is internal energy of the system? Yes. Now can you hear me? Okay. All right. Now come here. See, what is meant by internal energy? See, internal energy is nothing but it is the energy possessed by the molecules of the system. Okay. Whereas enthalpy is the total heat content of the system. That means heat content depends only on kinetic energy of molecules. The heat energy depends upon only the kinetic energy of the molecules. Okay. And whereas internal energy, kinetic energy is when you supply heat to the system, when you are heating from outside. That will give you change in enthalpy. So that is at constant pressure. We are not increasing the pressure because when we supply heat to the system, and if the volume can increase, volume will increase. Molecules will increase their kinetic energy and they will move upwards. Like I told you here, if I supply heat, kinetic energy of the molecules will increase, and if this can move up, then what will happen to the volume? Volume will increase and pressure will remain constant because yes. Okay, so this is what it is. Yes, internal energy में तो there are a number of energies involved. That is the molecules themselves, they are vibrating like this. Molecules themselves are vibrating like this. They are moving in different directions. So translational energy, and we have got rotational energy, we have got and vibrational energy. But here we are not supplying any energy from outside. No energy is supplied from outside if it is internal energy. But if it is change in enthalpy, it is the energy when we supply from outside that will increase only the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy means they will start moving randomly and they will push this. They will apply pressure on this plank and they will move it up. So volume of the gas will increase. It will apply larger volume. Okay. So the number of collisions with the wall of the container is going to decrease. So pressure is going to remain the same. No, here pressure will remain the same because volume is increasing. Molecules are not colliding with the container now. Their energy is used to move the piston up. Okay, so their collisions with the wall of the container will remain the same. They will excess kinetic energy. Yes, correct. All right. Now, how to measure delta H? If I have to measure change in enthalpy, so cannot be measured, right? But change in enthalpy can be measured. So it depends on initial and final state of the system. It is a state function. Change in enthalpy is a state function. Enthalpy is not a state function. Now, measurement of heat change at constant pressure. Generally, the atmospheric pressure can be done by an instrument known as calorimeter. What is it known as? Calorimeter. Now, yes, and a special name is given to this calorimeter, that is bomb calorimeter. You will be using calorimeter in your physics lab also on experiments based on heat. Okay, this formula you use in physics also. Now here we are, this calorimeter will be known as bomb calorimeter, right? Now what does it consist of? It consists of a thermometer, a foamed polystyrene cup. This is a bad conductor of heat. Okay, it's a polymer. जैसे like we have plastic, So this polystyrene is also a polymer. It is a bad conductor of heat. And we have the a small chamber in which the reaction mixture is there. So what you will do? You are going to create heat. The reaction mixture is mixed together, heat is generated, right? Now delta H is equal to Qp, and what is Qp equal to? M into C into delta T. This was Q, you had done Q. Q was the heat supplied to the system. So now we are calling it Qp because the pressure here is constant. What is the pressure here? Atmospheric pressure. The container is open from the top. This is atmospheric pressure. So Qp is equal to M into C into delta T. Here Q is Qp because the experiment is being carried at constant pressure. Right? M is mass. Mass of what? No. Reaction. Yes, C is specific heat capacity and delta T. No, see here what is happening. We conduct a reaction over here. Heat is produced. That heat is used to, it is passed on to, if you take water in a container, it will be passed on to water. So you will measure delta H of water, mass of water, specific heat capacity, and change in temperature. Reaction mixture is just used to create heat. Not understanding this part, there are, see, atmospheric pressure you have understood? Okay, pressure here will be equal to 1 atmosphere. That is atmospheric pressure. Alright, here in a chamber, we are going to, in a chamber, we conduct a reaction. Now, why is this reaction being conducted? Because it is an exothermic reaction. It will produce heat. Okay? And then in another chamber, we have got the substance for which delta H has to be determined. If it is water, what will happen? This will pass on the heat to water. Water has a specific mass, and the value of specific heat capacity is also known for water, and into change in temperature we can find out with the help of thermometer, which is here. We can find out change in temperature. Okay, and then we will call this. इसमें क्या निकालना है? इसमें QP निकालना है. इसमें QP निकालना है. ठीक है? Mass of the substance, which is getting heated, it can be water or any other liquid. Then C, specific heat, change in temperature, it will give us amount of heat supplied to the system at constant. Yes. Now what is delta H equal to? Delta H is equal to Qp. Your delta H is equal to Qp. Is that clear? That is how you will be able to find out. Now, next is what is meant by standard enthalpy of a reaction. What is standard enthalpy? Enthalpy of a reaction is H. Change in enthalpy is delta H. How do you define enthalpy? Enthalpy is the total heat content of the system. It is the total heat content of the system, right? Now, what is meant by standard enthalpy of a reaction? Standard enthalpy of a reaction is defined as, it is defined as